Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On The Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, saying good evening to all of you great folks here on the island of Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those, of course, who are listening across the Caribbean, those who are in the United States and Canada, those in the United Kingdom, wherever you are. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of On The Mark. I'm delighted to be here, and tonight I hope, as always, to have a conversation with you about what is happening on the island of Nevis, the wider Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and for us to engage in a debate and in a discussion. It is always important in a democracy that we keep the lines of communication open, that we build a platform for genuine debate and discussion. And on this show, as we like to say, all shades of public opinion are welcome. Yes, I'm a politician. I'm the leader of the Concerned Citizens Movement. I'm also the Premier of the island of Nevis. And yes, I have my own political views and biases, but I welcome all shades of opinion. And so you need not be fearful for calling, regardless of who you support. The only thing that we require on this show is that we expect persons to be respectful of what we're seeking to do, and to ensure that when they call, they engage at a level that enlightens them, enlightens us here, enlightens, most importantly, those who are listening. We are trying desperately to do something here out of the ordinary, to do something that is creative of some type of legacy that tells us that here only the best will do. That is the motto here at Von Radio, and that is what we try to live up to. I'll be the first to admit that we don't always get it right, but we keep trying. And that is important, that you keep trying. That is a lesson that ought to guide all of us throughout our lifetime. Now, this evening I want to start by, of course, extending condolences to all the families that might have lost loved ones. I also want to extend my prayers and best wishes for those who might be ill or suffering in some way. And in that regard, let me send best wishes to my dear Uncle Lloydie, as I call him in New York, Sir Lloyd Payne, who has had some challenges recently. Lloydie, if you're listening, we want to send you all the love from Nevis and encourage your speedy recovery. We pray and hope that you recover quickly. I also want to, of course, send love and regards to my aunt, Baby. Auntie Baby, I trust and hope that you are doing well, and you know that our thoughts and prayers are always with you. And for all of those out there who are struggling in some way, my prayers go out to you. I am here this evening, as I said, to have a discussion and to share information, and I start by alerting the people of St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands that the Concerned Citizens Movement team will be there. We will be there, God willing, on Friday. That is this Friday, and we will be there this Friday at Victor's Hideaway. I think that's what it's called. Victor's Hideout, Victor's Hideout. And we will be having a meeting there commencing at 6 p.m. So for our friends and family, Kittitians and Divisions in St. Thomas and also in St. John's, we're inviting you to come over to Victor's Hideout starting at 6 p.m. on Friday, this Friday. So that is the day after tomorrow. We will be in the U.S. Virgin Islands in St. Thomas, and the CCM team will be there, the Concerned Citizens Movement team, to give you updates as to what's happening on the island, to answer your questions, and really to give you accurate information. That first is critical, because we know that there is a lot of inaccurate and misleading information that is peddled on a daily basis, particularly on social media. So we are coming to give you accurate information, to answer your questions, and most of all, to listen to you, our people in the diaspora, to hear what your ideas are, what your concerns are, and to, of course, get you on board in terms of the development of this island and the wider federation. Why is that important? That is important because, as I always say, you happen to be in some distant land, but we know your hearts remain here. And we know that you always want to make your contribution here. You vote here. You come home and make that effort to cast your ballot. You invest here. You support Culturama. You support your families back here. We recognize and we cherish the relationship with all of our people wherever they happen to be. And so we're coming to see you in St. Thomas. We haven't been there for a while, and we will be at Victor's Hideout starting 6 p.m. this coming Friday. Now, for the people who are in Tortola in the Virgin Islands and who are in Antigua and Virgin Gorda, to the extent that they can make it, we are setting up a meeting in Tortola the following day. So this will be Saturday, this coming Saturday. We should be in Tortola again starting at 6 p.m. and I am told that we are to be at Maria's. Let me get the correct name here because I'm being sent information by the team. So we are at a place called Maria's by the Sea, and we are likely to be there in Tortola at Maria's by the Sea on Saturday at 6 p.m. again for a similar meeting, updating our people. And then since we're in the area, I want to report to our friends and family in St. Croix that we will be going to St. Croix, and on Sunday we will have a meeting in St. Croix starting at 5 p.m. at some place called the Blue Bamboo, which was formerly known as Drive-In. That will be in St. Croix. So just to recap, so that our people are clear in terms of where we're going to be, on Friday, that is the day after tomorrow, we shall be in St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands at Victor's Hideout, and that will be at 6 p.m. On Saturday, we will be in Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. We're inviting, of course, Nivisions and Kitchens from Tortola, Antigua, Virgin Gorda, Jos Van Dyke, and all the surrounding islands. And we will be there at Maria's by the Sea. That is at present the location of the meeting. And we will be there at Maria's by the Sea starting at 6 p.m. That's on Saturday. And on Sunday, we will be in St. Croix. St. Croix, the Big Island, will be at Blue Bamboo, formerly known as Drive-In, starting at 5 p.m. So we're inviting one and all to come out. I want to apologize to our friends and family and nationals in St. Croix. We have not been there in almost 10 years. And the truth is that it's far easier to go to St. Thomas and Tortola because of proximity. But I'm happy that this time around we're going to make the effort. And when the announcement was made that we were going to St. Thomas, I was quite pleased that so many from St. Croix reached out, so many from Tortola reached out to say, aren't you coming to see us as well? So the answer is yes. We will try through the grace of God to see everyone. So St. Thomas, Friday night, Victor's Hideout, starting at 6 p.m. Tortola, Saturday night, Maria's by the Sea, starting at 6 p.m. And Sunday, we will be at Blue Bamboo, formerly known as Drive-In, and that is in St. Croix, starting at 5 p.m. on Sunday. So, come spend your Sunday afternoon with us in St. Croix, Tortola, Antigua, Virgin Gorda, Jos Van Dyke. Come spend your Saturday evening with us, and of course, St. Thomas, come spend your Friday evening with us. So we can make a full tour of the U.S. and Virgin Islands, and then we return to Nevis. I just want to say to our friends from St. John's, Smithy and the whole crew down in St. John's, that we are providing some transportation. They tell me transportation from, I think it's called Red Hook. We'll have some coaster buses to bring those who are coming over from St. John, and we make sure that after the meeting on Friday that you are transported back to the ferry as well. So we're trying to cover everything, and we of course will have some refreshments there so you can come. We hope to have some good camaraderie, hear your views, hear your opinions, and report to you as we should in terms of what is happening in your country, St. Kitts and Nevis, and more specifically your island, the island of your birth, the island that you love so much, the island of Nevis. And so St. Croix, St. Thomas, Tortola, we are coming, we will be there. We pray that you turn out in your numbers and that you come and hear all that we have to say. So again, St. Thomas, Friday at Victor's Hideout, 6 p.m. Tortola, Saturday, 6 p.m. and we will be in Tortola at Maria's by the Sea. Sunday, we go to St. Croix at 5 p.m. and we will be at Blue Bamboo, which is formerly known as Drive-In. And we hope to see all of our people come out to ask your questions, to share your ideas. We are there to report to you, but we're also there to listen to you. And so we look forward very much to that engagement. For those who are in North America, the United States, we will, and Canada, we will be making some other announcements soon, but this weekend is all about the US and British Virgin Islands, and so we look forward to engaging with you. We have a rigorous schedule that we have worked out to touch and reach everyone, to try our best to answer questions and engage with you, and we look forward very much to doing that and to ensuring that you have the necessary information about what is happening here. We want you to get it, as we say, from the horse's mouth. We want you to get it directly and to be there to answer whatever questions you have and to ensure that you get accurate information. That, we think, is our duty as an open and transparent party, and certainly as the party that is currently representing you in government, we have that responsibility, and so we look forward very much to that. Now, some other news, as you might have heard on the media, I have been named by instrument dated, I believe it was the 10th. Let me just confirm the date for you, forgive me. I just want to make sure that I give accurate information as always, but by instrument dated, yes, the 10th of October, I was appointed leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition, and certainly look forward to taking up that position in the National Assembly. As you would be aware, from the elections of August 5th, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis decided that the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party, led by Dr. Terence Drew, would be given 6 seats. That is what they were given. That the People's Labour Party, led by Dr. Timothy Harris, received 1 seat. That the People's Action Movement, led by Sean Richards, received 1 seat, and that the Concerned Citizens Movement, led by me, received 3 seats. The Nevis Reformation Party and the Moral Restoration Movement received no seats. That was the decision of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis on the 5th of August. As a consequence, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew became the Prime Minister of our country, becoming the 4th Prime Minister, and it means therefore, that he has 6 seats on his side. There are 5 seats on the opposition benches, and of those 5, the Concerned Citizens Movement has 3 seats. Now, it is the responsibility of His Excellency the Governor General to appoint to the position of leader of the opposition the person who, in his view, commands the support of the majority of members who are not on the government side. So of the 5 members on the opposition side, it is his duty to appoint that person who, in his opinion, commands the support of the majority of elected members on the opposition benches. Well, there are 5 of us, 3 CCM, 1 PLP, 1 PAM, and the collective wisdom of the majority was that I should act in that position as leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition and to take the country forward. Now, I have been very clear, ladies and gentlemen, that the elections have been over now for some months. The elections were on the 5th of August. Our people went out and they voted. Their voice is the voice of God. They have said what they wanted to say. They have delivered whatever messages they wanted to deliver, and they have elected a government. That government is led by Dr. Terence Drew. There are some who don't like it. There are some who reminisce and say what could have been, what ought to have been, but that is the reality. And so I say to our people, let us now understand that the democratic process has worked. Let us applaud our country for having free and fair elections, free of any violence or chicanery, and that the government that the people has chosen, is in power. They are the ones who are the chosen ones at this point in time. That can change in the next election cycle. That is what democracy is all about. People get an opportunity every so often to elect the government of their choice, to elect the people that they wish to serve them. And in this case, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis decided that they would give the Labour Party a majority of the seats. They have a simple majority. They only have a 1-seat majority, 6 out of 11. And therefore, they have to manage that very carefully and ensure that in the Parliament they bring legislation They bring policies and programs that we can all support and get behind. I have said that my intention is to be constructive in my opposition, that I do not see it as my role to oppose for the sake of opposing, but rather to make a contribution. It is in some ways interesting because I started my parliamentary life in the national parliament on the opposition benches as leader of the opposition back in 2007. And here we are, 15 years later, and I have returned to be leader of the opposition again in the national parliament. And that perhaps is as it should be. And so I propose to do my best. I have had discussions with the Honorable Sean Richards. I think people would know that we would have undertaken this last election as a one movement construct, that there was a high degree of cooperation between us, that we had committed, that the Honorable Sean Richards would be supported as Prime Minister if the number of seats were obtained. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And the People's Action Movement was not able to hold on to the seats that they had, the 4 seats, or to pick up any additional seats, but instead they lost ground and lost all but 1 seat. And so that is the hand that we've been dealt, and we now have to pick up the pieces and move on and now go to what I consider the more important phase, the governance phase. And so that is where we are at this point. Now, there were some who were very much enamored of the idea that I, as Premier of Nevis and leader of CCM, that I should be in some type of war with the new Prime Minister and his Labour administration. It is not my intention to go to war with anyone. My intention is to fight as I've always fought for the people of Nevis, and to engage respectfully with whoever occupies the chair of Prime Minister in Bastille, to say to them that the people of Nevis deserve to be treated equally in this federation, deserve their fair share of the resources of the federation, and deserve the full fruits of their citizenship. I have said it, and I will continue to say it, that there are no second-class citizens here on the island of Nevis. And any responsibility of the government in Bastille is to ensure that all the people of the country, all, not just some, benefit from whatever it is that the country offers. Equally, all, not just some, of the people of the country will struggle together if difficult times come. And as we all know, the issue of the Citizenship by Investment program and proceeds was a major issue during the campaign, because we were able to uncover through our own efforts here on Nevis that while billions of dollars were coming in to the federal government in Bastille, the island of Nevis was getting a mere pittance. And so we have said that that is wrong, that that has to change. I have put that very high on the agenda in my own discussions with the new Prime Minister, and he has indicated a willingness to engage in that matter, to come to some compromise, a solution that is satisfactory to the people of Nevis and the people of St. Kitts. Fairness has to mean fairness to St. Kitts as well as fairness to Nevis. And so that is why we have used the language of an equitable share, not an equal share, because we recognize that St. Kitts is 3 times the size of Nevis. An equitable share, that is what we have been looking at, and that is what we are seeking to establish. And so that is the sort of framework in which we are operating. And I see no need in that framework for strife and for vitriol. I see a need to work constructively, to offer constructive criticism when necessary, but also to offer cooperation when necessary in the interest of our country. This, ironically, is what unity was supposed to do. This is what we had pledged to each other and to the public that we would do. Unfortunately, once we got elected, personal egos and ambitions took hold, and we were unable to deliver that to our people. And at the end of the day, despite the efforts of Sean Richards and myself to keep unity together, to push and prod to try to get the then Prime Minister to take a different course. He was adamant that he would take the course on which he had embarked. The result now is one for the historians. He ran the ship aground, and we have a new government. And we must now pick up the pieces, and we must now move on, leaving to the scrap heap of history those who took whatever decisions they took that have put them where they now find themselves. That is a matter for them. That is not a matter for me. I have been very clear, and the CCM has been pellucid, that our goal is to advance the people of Nevis. They are who elect us. They are who have stayed with us over the years. In fact, I did an analysis recently, and under that analysis I was able to point out that we have had elections in this country since 1992. That is 30 years. The elections of the past 30 years. I have not gone back all the history of elections. I'm just starting in 1992. And in the 30 years since 1992, the NRP has managed only one dubious victory, and that was in 2006, when Joseph Parry led his team to a 3-2 victory that, of course, we now know was marred with massive fraud. We put that to one side. That again is a matter for the historians. But the result is that by 2011, they knew they would lose. They, of course, inserted the fox in the cock's box, and the rest is a matter now of considerable history and commentary and Kaiso and all of the others. It has become embedded in our political culture, and for years from now we will always hear about that big fox in the cock's box, and that was immortalized in Kaiso, and it will be told to our children, because that is how the NRP went about winning in 2011. I took the matter to court, and the court again historically ruled in my favor. And again, when they went to the Court of Appeal unanimously ruled in my favor. The result was we went back to the polls in 2013, and on that occasion the CCM romped home. We romped home again in 2015, 2017, 2020, 2022. In fact, in 2020 and 2022, we had the unprecedented honor of having the people of Nevis give all of the federal seats, all 9, 10 and 11 to the CCM. It had never happened in the history of CCM. And so in 2020 we won all 3 seats. In 2022 we again won all 3 seats. The significance of that for me is that it sends a very clear message to anybody who is actually minded to listen and to learn, that insofar as the people of Nevis have been concerned over the past 30 years, the Concerned Citizens Movement is their party of choice. And we intend never to take that for granted, and never ever to betray the trust that the people of Nevis would have placed in us as a party and in us as a team. And that is why we go out there every day and we present to the people a united front, a number of persons working together for the benefit not of ourselves, but for the benefit of our people. And we believe that our people understand and appreciate that. I would be the first to admit that we are not without our own mistakes and difficulties. We are humans, and humans will by their nature make mistakes. But what I've always promised is honesty and integrity in dealing with our people, in making ourselves available to our people for discussion, to explain even difficult situations where mistakes are made, to come and say, yes, a mistake was made and we have changed course, but to always keep that dialogue open. And that is why this On The Mark show has been so important over the years, because when we're in opposition we use this show, and when I got to government there were some who said, it is now time for you to leave that show behind. And I said no. This show will continue, and it will continue because it is important to have a mechanism for dialogue with the people of Nevis and the wider Federation, with the people who are in the diaspora, who can call in and air their views and opinions, share their ideas, and, of course, advance their criticisms. Through criticism, constructive criticism, we often can learn much. And so, as a team, we have never professed to be perfect. But what we have said is that where we are imperfect, because we are human, we are perfectly in love with the island of Nevis, and perfectly in love with the people of Nevis, and perfectly committed to serving the people of our beautiful island. I feel very blessed to be in Nevisian. Very blessed. I would not have wanted to be born anywhere else in the world. In fact, I was in England recently and having a conversation, and I reflected that my mother, Vicky, of blessed memory, came from England with me and had me here in January of 1969. And of course, the sense was that had she stayed in England for just a bit more, I would have been born there. And my colleagues, who I was enjoying a drink with while we had this conversation, said to me, you are almost an Englishman. And I said, no, I'm happy that she made that decision and that I was born right there in a little house in Scarborough, down Henley Part, as we would say, because I think that it is important to me that my navel string was buried here on the island of Nevis. This is the land I love, and there's no other land for me. And so I believe that I am not unique in that regard. As I look across the cabinet, I look at the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the Deputy Premier. I look at the Honorable Eric Evelyn. I look at the Honorable Spencer Brand, those that you have elected to serve you. I look at those that have been appointed as senators, the Honorable Troy Liebert, the Honorable Hazel Brandy. I look at our Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Stedman Truss, our legal advisor, Helen Lewis. I see people who are coming to work and seeking to make their contribution. As I say, we are not perfect, and the contribution is not always perfect. They know that I constantly demand more, but at the end of the day, I want and I believe that the people recognize that we are committed to them. And that is why the people have voted. And so I have coined the phrase, ignore the noise. It has become quite popular now in local parlance. And some say it is offensive to say ignore the noise. I said no. Noise is offensive. And if you were to engage with noise, noise begets noise. And at the end of the day, you have more noise. Noise plus noise is two noise. Noise times noise is noise squared. Too much noise. You have to ignore it because there are important matters that demand our attention. And those important matters sometimes get drowned out because of the cacophony of sound and confusion that some seek to bring to the table. And there are many people, they engage in the art of distraction. So if they come and they say something which is patently untrue, and you point out that that is untrue, they don't bother to apologize for trying to mislead the public. They just move on to the next untruth. And they say, oh yes, well that might be the case, but what about this? And that is how they operate. So I'm not too concerned about them. I feel that we need to focus in a laser-like way on what we are here for. And what is our mandate? To develop this island, to create jobs, to grow the economy, to keep our people safe, healthy. That is our job, to educate our children, to ensure that our people have opportunities in the land of their birth, to treat those who have come to Nevis and see Nevis as home with respect, as we expect them to treat us in their lands with respect. That is our duty. That is what we are seeking to do. And yes, because we are in politics and because this is a vibrant democracy, our mistakes will be amplified. Sometimes they're not even mistakes, but they're distorted and amplified anyway. The good that men do, it is said, is often interred with their bones. The bad lives after them. I interpret that to mean that oftentimes the good you do is not talked about. The bad you do is what gets the headlines. And so we must continue to persist in doing good, doing the best that we can, ensuring that this island is developed and that we leave it better than we met it. And I believe that despite the chatter, despite all of the noise that is being made, the people of Nevis at home and abroad looking at Nevis recognize that we have moved this island forward. We look at the experience for COVID. We look at the fact that this island for 2 years was on its knees in terms of the economy. And yet, here we are. We managed the COVID situation, unprecedented. Nobody knew what to expect. But God had put leadership on this island for times such as that. Steady, sober, not given to hysteria, and leadership that had the necessary tenacity and grit that we would not surrender. And so we managed this pandemic. And I'm proud to say we have now come out on the other side of it, and we are now looking forward to a much brighter future. I have said that I lost 2 years of my premiership. And while that has itself ignited some protests from the opposition, the truth is that no leader in the history of this island has ever had to deal with events as calamitous as the COVID-19 pandemic, and events that lasted for as long. Yes, we have had tragic hurricanes, we have had tragedy strike this island from time to time, but nothing that has lasted this long, where the entire country was shut down. It's so dependent on tourism, and we couldn't get any tourists to come because the whole world was shut down. And here we are. I think that when the historians write about this period, it at least warrants a footnote to say that this government weathered the storm of COVID well, that we took good decisions to keep this island afloat despite the winds that buffeted us from all corners, and that at the end of the day we kept our infrastructure and our people intact so that we could emerge at the end of COVID and look forward with confidence to a brighter future. And that is exactly what we have sought to do. You look across the landscape of this island. I drive by, I see the Mondo track where our young people can now run, where our not so young can go and exercise. And I see the hive of activity at afternoons there. I've gone there on a Sunday where they're playing football on the pitch there at the Mondo track. And I say to myself, look at how far we have come. This could only have happened in the past on dirt or grass at the ETW park. Now our young people are running on a IAAF certified surface done by this government. I look at the investment that we recently made in solid waste, new trucks, new equipment, baling equipment, recycling equipment, all of this being done. And even as I speak, we're in discussions now with landfill experts to see what we can do about the landfill to prolong its life, to engage in sorting, and to ensure that what is valuable at the landfill is extracted and put to good use. Investing in our health. We are currently embarked on the largest expansion of the hospital ever seen in the history of this island. A project that by its nature is an important and large-scale project. A project that was delayed and has been delayed because, of course, we lost nearly 2 years due to COVID. But a project which, when complete, will take healthcare in this little island to the next level. I was pleased to learn from Junior Minister Hazel Brantley today that our CT scan machine that was delayed due to shipping is now in St. Kitts and should be transported to Nevis this week. We have already put the enclosure there. This 128 slice CT scan, I'm advised, will be the most advanced that this country has ever seen. In fact, I'm told that only Grenada has a similar piece of equipment. It means, therefore, that our ability to diagnose and treat will be immeasurably enhanced. Again, significant strides, significant foresight, planning, execution, looking after our people. We look at the fact that despite COVID, we went out and procured 2 new ambulances. First in the history of this island that they had 2 new vehicles at the same time. We have added those to our fleet, and we now feel that we have adequate coverage for the island of Nevis. We have invested in new generating sets at Nevlec, which has now insulated the island from the frequent power outages that we used to have, and given us the necessary capacity to deliver a reliable supply of electricity to our people. We have not stopped there. We have continued the engagement on renewable energy. In fact, I am to report that the Caribbean Development Bank sent a 7-member team here, and I believe they're still in country. I think that they leave tomorrow, if I'm correct. But they have been here for meetings in Nevis and St. Kitts as they do their final due diligence to determine the viability of this project for financing from the Caribbean Development Bank. We are confident that we will get this across the line. And so renewable energy, we have not given up on that dream for all of Nevis to be powered by green energy. We look at water. The Honorable Spencer Brand has revolutionized water storage, water delivery, and in fact water capacity on this island. He came to the cabinet with an idea that there was a high producing well in Hamilton that was not putting water into the system because of the high chemical content in that water. And he came up with this idea that we could buy a water filtration, water treatment plant, run the water through that, and make it portable, bring it to WHO standards. And that's exactly what he did. And with that one stroke of genius and that investment that was made, the people of Nevis started getting over 200,000 gallons of water per day as an addition to our water supply. We have not stopped there. We are exploring desalination, a project that I'm proud of because I negotiated that project when I was foreign minister with the government of the United Arab Emirates. I feel that there is a future for desal, and desal can solve a lot of problems because we're surrounded by ocean. The problem with desalination normally is the cost of electricity. But if we can get geothermal energy and reduce the cost of electricity significantly as we plan to do, and if we can use solar and other renewables to power desalination plants, then we can certainly solve any water problems of this island for the foreseeable future. We look at food and food security. The Honorable Alexis Jeffers has led a revolution on this island in terms of agriculture. I invite any of you to travel to Indian Castle to look at the orchard that has been created there. Some 30 plus acres of fruit trees, coconut trees, mango trees, guava trees, breadfruit, banana. A veritable Garden of Eden has been created there at Indian Castle. And we're not stopping there. I'm advised that we're clearing now an additional 30 acres or so to be put to similar use. I want to thank again Ronald Banky, Mr. Ronald King, better known as Banky, for his management of that facility thus far. And I believe it was just last week that many were afforded a tour and recognized what we're doing there at Indian Castle. Some said things couldn't grow there. We have shown that that is not so. We have sought to invest in our local farmers, our local fishers. We have provided fencing wire to local farmers, free seeds, free seedlings, free fertilizer, free water. We have provided shade houses to select farmers. I believe those shade houses, I was advised, were somewhere in the region of $60,000 each, and several of our farmers benefited from them. We have invested in the Lawrencetown Perry marketing depot to provide additional storage to our farmers to extend the shelf life of their products. On this trip to the U.S. Virgin Islands, I'm taking with me a price list of various products produced here because we have someone in the Virgin Islands who is saying they would like to have some products from Nevis, watermelon, cantaloupe, etc., for their supermarket shelves in the Virgin Islands. We are consecrating the future, looking at how we can best take this island and our people upwards and onwards. We have been set back by COVID, knocked down but not knocked out. We are back on our feet now, and we're finding our way. In housing, again entrusted to the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, revolution in housing. If you don't believe me, go over to Madden's and have a look at what is happening there. When you're done there, go up to the top of Craddock Road and have a look. Drive from there, or walk if you will, to Hamilton and have a look. And go over to Chimney Crescent and have a look. We will shortly be kicking off in Rice's, and we continue to build up at Ghana's, University Heights, and the various areas across this island, assisting our people, particularly young people, to own their own home and to ensure that our people have and make that significant investment in having a home of their own. So I have, in just a few minutes, spoken about health, about solid waste, our hospital. I have spoken about COVID and our response. I've spoken about agriculture. I have spoken a little bit about what we have done with water and water production. But I can go on to look at our physical infrastructure, to look at the Newcastle police station and investments in our security. The fact that the island now has CCTV coverage, which has contributed to reducing crime on the island. The fact that crime now is at all-time low on the island of Nevis. And that as a consequence, we have a better environment in which to work, live, and do business. I can speak to all of the new restaurants and business places that are opening their doors, and the investment that we're seeing, both locally and from those who have come in to invest with us. The international banks that have opened their doors here, the expansion in the local economy, the fact that the hotels are all reporting that they're looking forward to a robust season, the fact that Mount Nevis has indicated that they reopened their doors after closure due to COVID in early December, the fact that Nisbet Plantation is being sold and they have advanced a very ambitious development agenda for that resort. And I say all that to say that we are on a path here now which requires all of us as Nevisians and all of us who love this island to put our shoulders to the wheel. Along the way we will have disagreements. Along the way we will have words as to what is the best approach. But we ought not ever to abandon the path of development and progress on which this island is now embarked. For some, it doesn't come fast enough. For others, it is going too fast. And for yet others, they criticize because they feel they're not getting all that they should get. And I hear all the voices, and I understand all the sentiments that are expressed. But as I said to a supporter recently, my task as Premier is to look at the development of all of Nevis and to seek to advance all of our people, from the south to the north, from the east to the west, from Nevis Peak to the foothills and the lowlands. It is my task as Premier to lead the team and to ensure that all of Nevis benefits. So sometimes you get the complaint and people say, oh, NRP supporters benefiting more than CCM supporters. I hear that. Whether it's true or not might not be relevant. That might be a discussion for another time. But the question I often ask, and people may get upset when I ask it, I say, but you said the NRP supporters are the division. Are they our people? And if the answer to that is yes, then it means that we must create a Nevis where all of our people can benefit. All. May not be popular, may not be a view that many share. But I think for an island of just 13,500 people, we need to harness all of the talent that we have available to us. And the irony of ironies is that my leadership style has been such that you have some saying that only NRP people benefiting, and the NRP out there saying that we are victimizing NRP people. That is the nature of democracy. And so, it behooves us to be focused, to pay attention, and to ensure that we are on a path that is sustainable, a path for development. And when we look at the plans and programs that we have as a party to move Nevis to even higher heights, those plans and programs will be unveiled in short order. And we will, of course, be asking the people of Nevis to look at us, examine our record, examine how we have managed this island and this country. Look at how we have contributed to the development, the shaping of the debate, not just on Nevis but in the wider federation. Look at the respect and regard with which this government is held, locally and regionally and internationally. And look at the quality of leadership that we have brought. And I believe when we are looked at, that the people of Nevis will decide that it is for them, the CCM, that is the best choice to manage the affairs of Nevis. This is not to castigate or cast aspersions on anyone else. But in our democracy, it is always a contest of ideas. A contest of personality as well. And a contest to persuade our people in terms of who they feel are those persons best suited to represent them. And they have answered that question consistently over the past 30 years, that the Concerned Citizens Movement is their choice to manage the affairs of the people of Nevis. And as I said, we do not take that lightly, and we do not and will not betray that trust reposed in us by the people of Nevis. We are grateful to you for your support. And the message that we intend to take to St. Thomas on Friday night, to Tortola on Saturday night, to St. Croix on Sunday night, is that the CCM remains the best choice for the people of Nevis. And we look forward to engaging with you, to getting your ideas, for you to animate even more the vision that we have for our island, to getting your energy and harnessing that energy for the benefit of our people, to move this island forward, upwards and onwards. I will end my soliloquy there. It is 10 minutes to the hour of 9 o'clock, and we will open the lines. The numbers are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. If you wish to be a part of the show, those are the numbers to call. And if you're just tuning in, then this is Mark Brantley, and I'm your host of On the Mark, Real Talk Across the Narrows. And it must mean that you're listening to the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio. Let's go to the phones immediately then and take some calls. Good evening, you're On the Mark.
Dr. Sheriff, good evening, the leader of the opposition. Well done.
How are you, my dear?
Good night to my family and friends over there in Canada. John 14, verse 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I'll go and prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And whither I go, he know, and the way he know. Have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you for very well-known scripture. Thank you for choosing that scripture for us. And we're delighted, as always, to hear your voice and to have you on the air. You have for years been very good at being our first or nearly our first caller. In fact, someone said to me, how does she manage to be the first caller? And I said, because she's committed to the show. She's as much a part of the show as I am. And so thank you very much, caller, for beautiful scripture and for setting the tone right. I'm looking through my phone here because I had a message, and let me see if I can find it, because I want to get, of course, I always try to get this information correct. And please forgive me, but I need to, yes. And the message is that the family would like to pass along their great thanks and appreciation, the Calendar and Manners families, that is, for those who attended the funeral for the late Bernadette Calendar and gave her a wonderful send-off last Saturday. I would have extended condolences, and the family has now asked me to extend their thanks to all of those who showed up, attended the funeral, and gave late departed, dearly departed Bernadette a wonderful send-off. And so I wanted to just get that straight and get that in as part of the program this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark. Now, as we wait for the phones to ring, the lines are now open, so don't be deterred because you hear me talking. I'm talking while I wait for you to call. As we talk about what's happening, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew has announced his first official state visit, and his first official state visit will be to Taiwan. As you know, Taiwan is, as I like to say, our best friend internationally. And Dr. Drew has extended an invitation to me and to the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the Deputy Premier, to join him on that trip. And I am hearing that he has also extended an invitation to the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons of the NRP to join that trip as well. That trip, I'm advised, goes to Taiwan on the 5th of November and returns on the 11th of November. The trip was originally to be a bit longer, but it has been curtailed by 2 days, and so we will get back a bit earlier than anticipated. And so we certainly look forward to engaging with our friends in Taipei and to seeing our students there, engaging with the nationals there, because it's not only students now, some have actually, I'm told, decided to live in Taiwan. And so we have some of our people who are living there. We intend to engage, of course, with the government and the people of Taiwan and to rekindle old bonds and build new ones. And that really is what we seek to do. I do not know the composition of the delegation. That is a matter, of course, for Prime Minister Drew. But I'm grateful that he has extended across the Narrows an invitation, and that members from the CCM and the NRP will be there, members who are, of course, elected. And in this instance, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers and myself and the Honorable Cleon Stapleton Simmons, I'm advised, will join Dr. Drew. It is unprecedented. It is the first time that the Premier and Prime Minister will be traveling in quite this way. Certainly the first time in recent memory. And so we look forward to that, and I believe that that sends a good signal about how he intends to have the two islands cooperate and coalesce. And that is really what we have been asking for, an opportunity to engage in a meaningful way for the advancement of the island and of the people. As I continue with news then of developments, to remind again the people of St. Thomas who might just be tuning in that we will be in the Virgin Islands on Friday. In St. Thomas we will be at Victor's Hideout starting at 6 p.m. and we're asking all to come out and to hear the good news about what is happening in Nevis, and for us to get feedback from you and get your ideas as well. On Saturday, God willing, we will be in Tortola at Maria's by the Sea starting at 6 p.m. and then we are inviting all of our people in Tortola, Antigua, Virgin Gorda, Jos Van Dyke and the surrounding islands to come and be a part of that meeting. And then on Sunday, God willing, we will be in St. Croix. And in St. Croix, let me get the place right again, forgive me. We will be in St. Croix at a spot there called, let me tell you, Blue Bamboo. And it was formerly known as Drive-In. And that's where we'll be at 5 p.m. in St. Croix on Sunday. And so we are covering all of the U.S. Virgin Islands, because in St. Thomas, we hope to see our friends and family from St. John as well. We are actually putting on some transportation from Red Hook before and after the event at Victor's Hideout. And so we look forward very much to seeing one and all and being a part of that engagement. Please come out in your numbers. We haven't been to St. Croix in a long time, so we're hoping that all of St. Croix comes out to see us, and certainly we expect the BVI landers, the citizens in BVI to come out, and of course those in St. Thomas, Rock City, those in St. John to come out and see us as well. So we look forward very much to that. Now, on to some other developments. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the numbers to call are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, we expect to embark on the Island Main Road Rehabilitation Project very shortly. I would want to thank the Bank of Nevis International, the Honorable Spencer Brand, the Minister charged with works, public works on the island. He has reported to the Parliament just on when we're in the Parliament on Tuesday that the Bank of Nevis has come forward and has been willing to finance the construction of the road going from Cliff Dwellers all the way over to ex-Petrol. I think there's a portion by the airport which will not be done at this point because we have some other exciting plans that we will announce a bit later when those plans crystallize about the airport and the airport project. But for now, that carriageway, which we know has caused great concern for the people in the north of the island, the people of St. James in particular, that will now be resolved. Surrey Paving has been awarded the contract, and they have advised that they will mobilize soon. The cost is some $11 million, and I am asking the people of Nevis to be patient with us and for motorists to be patient while we continue to work to improve the infrastructure of the island. Let me go to the phones then and take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night, Mr. Brantley. How are you?
Yes, good evening, I'm well, thank you.
Good night to all of my relatives over in Nevis, all the pain from Back Village, and the Freeman from Rollins, and the Challengers from Bath, and the Jeffers from all over the place.
Yes.
Covering the Jeffers. You see, my mother's mother was a Jeffers who married to a Freeman, and I learned that they moved from Anguilla to Nevis then to St. Kitts. So now I have two questions to ask you. More or less a personal point of view. Let me start with Haiti first, because that might be a little easier. You would know by now of the request by the Haitian government for UN countries to come in and assist them in trying to restore order, right?
Yes.
America, the US, and Canada has already agreed, and I think they're negotiating with Mexico. I have not heard about CARICOM's response. Now, given the history of Haiti, especially with the US occupation before, what is your response? Have you given any thought? Because I was thinking that we have the RSS, or are we trying to save our skin and let other people go in? And then when these countries take over Haiti, we make noise. That's one. Don't answer yet. Right? You listening still?
I'm listening.
Right, the next thing. It is usual that on the opposition side that there be agreement in terms of our discussions in terms of the presentation of the leader of the opposition. What role, if any, will Sean and Dr. Harris play? Or will it just be a presentation from the CCM faction? Those are my two questions.
All right, well...
I'll hang up and...
Okay. Caller, thank you very much. The issue of Haiti, as you know, is a very complicated issue. Haiti, I believe, is a proud nation. Haiti was the first independent country in our hemisphere, having defeated the colonial power of France, and would have become a republic, a black republic, and became a beacon of hope for many other countries that still had enslaved people. But Haiti has suffered, Haiti has struggled, and we look, for example, at the fact that Haiti and the Dominican Republic occupy the same island, and yet on the Haitian side it appears they have had no ends of problems, while on the Dominican Republic side they've done rather well. So the problems there are complex, and you're right, there have been interventions over the years and occupation over the years from superpowers, including the United States. Haiti has asked for help, as far as I'm aware. The government there, certainly since the assassination of the then President, I think Moise, there has been tremendous difficulties in Haiti. And so they have now asked for the assistance of the global community. I believe they went to the United Nations, and they're asking for assistance because they say that the country is now overrun by gangs, armed gangs, who are controlling the country. Haiti needs help. That is the short answer. And the people of Haiti, who I believe are, like all Caribbean people and like people of the world, people who are seeking a better life, a life of peace and prosperity for their families, are in need of our assistance. Now, St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean as a whole, we don't have the military might. And so if we're talking about a military intervention to seek to rescue Haiti from the grip of these gangs that we are told are controlling large areas of Haiti, then we must defer to those large countries that have that military capability. I have said, even when I served as foreign minister, that for me the role of CARICOM in Haiti ought to be institution building, capacity building. We ought to be able to contribute to developing the democracy there, developing the infrastructure for a vibrant democracy. Why? Because I think we have good experience with that in the region. We have seen countries like Jamaica, for example, which had a very tribalistic type of politics, marred by violence over the years. And we see now the transformation that has occurred there. We have seen democracies such as Barbados, stable, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua Barbuda. Across the Caribbean, there are good examples of very strong democratic traditions that I feel we can share with Haiti as brothers. The difficulty that I have had, caller, is that many look at Haiti in a way that is condescending. Even Caribbean people. We used to do it with the Guyanese. When we look at Guyanese, we know how the Guyanese were treated in some islands and some countries trying to enter. Even here in the island of Nevis, the Guyanese were badly treated under the NRP government. And we must, I think, get to a realization that we're all travelers in this world. We're all going somewhere or coming from somewhere. And yes, there's some of us who are privileged to have been born here on the island of Nevis, but many of us who were born here live elsewhere. When we go down to St. Thomas and St. Croix and Tortola, who do you think we're going to be talking to? People who never stringberry right here, but they live down there. And I always say that the admonition given to us when we went to Sunday school, that to do unto others as you will have them do unto you, is a very good way to live. Because some of those who are here, who have been most critical of foreigners, their whole family live abroad. And you ask the question, well, suppose America and St. Thomas and St. Croix and Tortola, St. Martin, suppose they treated our people the way we want to treat foreigners, how would that work? We would not be happy about it. And so we have to always remember, and this Caribbean, I believe, has to remember that our duty is to help each other. When hurricanes devastated Dominica and Barbuda, it was our duty to help. When volcano erupted in St. Vincent, it was our duty to help. We must help each other, and Haiti needs help. And so certainly I would very strongly support CARICOM doing what it can, but playing to its strengths, because I don't think military intervention is CARICOM's strength, and I think military intervention at least is necessary to bring stability and then allow the institutions of government to be developed and allow democracy to flourish and peace and security to return to the people of Haiti. You asked about the opposition. How is the opposition to function? And the opposition functions as it always has. I don't think that question is anything new. The opposition and members of the opposition have their contribution to make. Will there be some level of cooperation and dialogue? I hope so. But it is not necessary for the opposition to function, because each member of the opposition comes from a team, and that team may have their own perspective. We have 3 political parties represented in opposition, and each of those political parties has every right to advance a perspective from their party, from their membership, from their supporters. And so we look forward to that. What role will they play? Certainly, as leader of the opposition, I'm inclined to take on board the views that are expressed by the other members of the opposition. But they themselves have a right of audience in the parliament, as you know. And so they themselves will make their own speeches and make their own contribution at the appropriate time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 8 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call, and we invite your calls to be a part of this show. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you, you're on the mark.
Okay, yes, you're hearing me. I'm calling out of Stacia.
Yes, how are you? How's Stacia?
You're all right. We're good. We're doing fine. We get some rain and what have you. We're green, and we're doing all right. Thank God for life.
Okay, wonderful. I'm happy to hear that.
Well, I haven't called in on this program for a long time. Well, for no obvious reasons. I just didn't call, but I listen carefully and I listen attentively. I hardly miss. And my household will tell me that I believe in Mark. Anyway, let me first of all say congratulations on the election. I felt that CCM would have won 3 seats, and the rest of what would have happened in St. Kitts. We're hoping that we would have formed the government, but nevertheless, it is what it is. The individuals, the voters have spoken, and I feel that you will do what is best. Let good sense of judgment and I don't know if I should, good sense of judgment, common sense will prevail and move forward. And I would say it's a good thing. Maybe the way it is now, it's a blessing in disguise. And it is good that the Prime Minister, I've listened to him, and I feel he is honest, and he has attended what he will do and his intentions in me, this and what have you. Nevertheless, I'm looking forward to see that things move smoothly between St. Kitts and Nevis, and we know how individuals, if I should put it that way, of Kittitians feel towards Nevis and how Nevisians feel towards Kittitians. But nevertheless, I feel that things will go smoothly, and it's a good gesture to know that, well, you'll be heading to Taiwan. I think it's a good thing that the Prime Minister has done. I've never seen it, I've never heard of that before, and you're doing well. Nevertheless, keep up the good work and do the best you can in representing people. And we're looking forward to the next time again. Whenever you ring the bell, I am of the conviction that the citizens of Nevis will say all 5. Nevertheless, all the best. Have a good night.
Well, thank you very much, caller. You're right, I haven't heard your voice in some time. I'm happy to hear that things are good in Stacia. Good evening to all of our friends and family in Stacia, Seba. A beautiful place, and I'm happy to hear you're getting some rain. We are as well, so Nevis and St. Kitts are beautiful and green at the moment. So thank you for your call, and thank you for always being a supporter of this show over the years. We are truly grateful to you for that, and to all of our people who tune in religiously in Stacia, Seba, and around the region. So we are really grateful. Let's go back to the phones and keep the calls coming. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, caller, you're on the air.
Okay, good evening. Mr. Brantley, good evening, and first let me congratulate you on the honor that has been bestowed on you, the one of Doctor of Laws.
Thank you.
All right, I move on. There are some who feel, as a matter of fact, they say that you lost the last election, and they don't know how you won 3 seats and end up on the opposition benches.
Mm-hmm.
I have followed you in the past, and I know that you are not afraid to do what you have to do from wherever you are, and so I had no problems with that. I now see that you have been appointed the leader of the opposition. You say you win 3 seats and you end up on the opposition benches. All I have to say to you, because I know you, all I have to say to you is show them how it's done. They themselves are not capable, and so they feel nobody else is. What I've seen is them opposing for opposition's sake. One of the things that I notice is the first speech from Dr. Drew. And I listened to that speech guardedly because he said he wanted to mend the rift between St. Kitts and Nevis. It sounds good, and my thought was, he talks the talk. I'm looking to see if he's going to walk the walk. So far, I've seen much to be grateful for when it comes to him walking the walk. Let's hope he continues. And I know that, well, in my opinion, you're the top diplomat in this. When it comes to diplomacy, you lead the way in this federation. Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thanks for the call. Yeah, we get the chatter about we won but still lost. I'm not really fussed about that. You know when people line up for the 100 meters, and Usain Bolt crosses the line first, the next fella said, boy, I wasn't in good health, my hamstring was bothering me, my shoe was too tight. People try to find some excuse to make themselves feel better, and that's okay. That's life. I think we've all done it. So I am not too fussed about that. What I know is that there were 3 seats on offer in Nevis, constituencies 9, 10, and 11. The CCM held all 3, and the people returned us to all 3 seats. And the NRP therefore had 0 in 2020, and they have 0 in 2022. And that is where it ends. We always knew that the island of Nevis could not form a federal government on its own. And so we had to look to a coalition and to see how that happens. We were quite forthright that we would coalesce with the People's Action Movement if the People's Action Movement was able to win sufficient seats. The NRP didn't come out to say who they were coalescing with, but we know that they were spending money provided to them from the PLP. That there is absolutely no doubt. And we know that Dr. Timothy Harris, as Prime Minister, was making certain moves with the peace program, with the PAP program, etc., to benefit the NRP. Of that, there is absolutely no doubt. Of course, when the PLP lost Bradley, the NRP suddenly put on some red shirts and went sink it the motorcade with Labour. And perhaps they thought that they could fool somebody. So they now start to say, well, they didn't align with anybody, they were free, and feel that they're free to work. But how are you going to work with people when you don't have any seats? And that is the problem that they have, because the people of Nevis have been saying consistently for 30 years, not you, NRP, not you. So you can say whatever you want to say, but the people ultimately are who are taking the decision, and they have consistently said, with the exception of that aberration in 2006, we do not want the Nevis Reformation Party. When all these ladies came to NRP, and they said it was women time now, women power, I honestly was excited because I thought that they would bring a difference, that their approach would be different. We would have ideas on the table once and for all, that they would lift the debate and the discussion. It turns out, unfortunately, it's the same old khaki frock. Nothing new. Same bunch of froth, we can't find the mobby. And so that has really been the difficulty. Maybe it is that you just need to get rid of all of them. Maybe I hear some young names being called, let the youngsters come to the fore. Because an NRP that continues to have the likes of Carlisle Powell and Kelvin Daly and Hastings Daniel and these people who are time and time again rejected by the people of Nevis. Nevis people don't want to hear a thing from them. These are what they call rejects. It's time for them to hush and go along about their business. Clear the way. And then you have the newcomers now, the candidates, and most of them are incoherent. You can't understand what the point they're seeking to make. The lady that is running against me, for example, I have great difficulty understanding her train of thought. Her sudden discovery that there are poor people in Nevis, for example. All 60 plus years she's been on this earth, she didn't know that there were poor people in Nevis until she started to run for politics. And that now is the mantra. Poor people, poor people, poor people. And I've had to ask, well, if you're aware of all these people in difficulty, what are you doing other than just talking about it? I have said to her, you have skills that are valuable. Why not open a little business and employ 2 or 3 of these people so that they could have an income? Help the situation. Because the person who spends all of his time or her time talking about the problem, not offering a solution but simply pointing out the problem. If every morning you get up hungry and the only thing that this person will come and say, Lord, you're hungry again, it's a shame you're hungry, Lord. Imagine you're hungry. No. Get some food for the person. Get some assistance for the person. Show that you're helping. Not just talking, because you're telling them they're hungry, and you know they're hungry, and helping them get out of their situation of being hungry. And that is the problem. So as I said, a lot of froth, no mobby. You know when you get a glass of mobby and all the froth on top, and you want to get through the froth because you want to get down to the mobby, we can't find the mobby where NRP is concerned. It's just pure froth. So they were scheming and calculating, and part of their calculation is that CCM and Labour should be at war. You know, I got a call recently from a friend inside Labour, and he said that within Labour there was a lot of debate as to whether they should align with CCM or NRP. There was some who were saying, oh, let me try and kill CCM, and all kind of manner of things. These things don't concern me, because the only party that can beat CCM is CCM. I say so all the time. The party ain't make yet that can beat the Concerned Citizens Movement right now. Only CCM can beat CCM. And that's why I keep saying to CCM, stay together. Stay together. Whatever difficulties there may be from time to time, stay together. This big blue machine is unstoppable if we are together. So I gather there's a big debate, and they say, oh, NRP is closer to Labour. And I smile, because I say, since when? Let us look at the history. The NRP of Simeon Daniel was formed to fight Labour. Let's not forget, maybe for the young people if they're listening, the NRP was formed in 1970, and its avowed reason was to fight against Brantley and the Labour Party. In 1980-81 it was, when there was an opportunity in St. Kitts. I think it was 4-3. There were 7 seats at the time, if memory serves. And the NRP joined with PAM to give PAM a majority and make Kennedy Simmons the leader, and then took us into independence in 1983 to become the first Prime Minister. So when NRP had the choice, NRP put Labour out of office in 1980-81. In 1993, Douglas-led Labour got 4 seats on St. Kitts, and the Simmons-led PAM got 4 seats on St. Kitts. The CCM led by Vance Amry got 2 seats on Nevis. The NRP led by Joseph Parry got the 1 seat. Vance decided he would be neutral, so CCM didn't join with PAM or Labour. What did NRP do? NRP joined again with PAM to give Dr. Simmons a minority government. And that government lasted until 1995. In 1995, Labour won the government under Dr. Douglas. And they went on to get all 7, get all 8, and they were champions for 20 years. In 2010, when Labour won 6 seats in that election, but Dr. Douglas knew that Timothy Harris and Sam Conda were not with him, even though they had won their seats on a Labour ticket. He reached out because he needed help, and he co-opted young Patrice Nisbet of the NRP. 2010 was the first time that there was any coalition between NRP and Labour. And it was a marriage of convenience, because Douglas needed support, because he understood he had problems within his cabinet. That government was defeated in 2015. And 2015 was the first time in the history of the CCM that it joined with anyone on St. Kitts. And that is when we put Team Unity together. So really, if the CCM party is to be looked at, the CCM party aligned itself only from 2015, 7 years. The NRP has been aligned against Labour since 1981. In fact, since its founding in 1970, it has been against Labour. So when I spoke to somebody who they say, oh, Labour and NRP are closer together, I smiled, because I say they clearly have forgotten the history. One thing I am proud of about this Concerned Citizens movement is that we have demonstrated that we stand alone if necessary, but we stand for what is right. And we stand for the people of Nevis unapologetically. I'm proud of that. We raise our own money for elections. We don't depend on anybody or any party on St. Kitts. We are quintessentially Nevisian. And that, I think, has served us well and will continue to serve us well as a party. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. It is 25 minutes past the hour. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Oh, good evening again, Mr. Brantley.
Yes.
I remember shortly after the election, the representative for number 9, the NRP, said that the CCM lost the election. And I thought, strange, because the platform that you campaign on lost to the CCM. So what does that make you? You know? The second thing is the geothermal. I understand now that the Caribbean Development Bank got the wherewithal to provide the funds to get geothermal on the way. My question is, how long has, when did we find that out? How long did we find that out?
How long did they find out what, caller?
That the Caribbean Development Bank,
yes,
the Eastern Caribbean Development Bank, has the funds, has a facility that could accommodate the funds for geothermal.
We've been talking to the CDB now for probably 2 years, maybe a little more. There was some back and forth, because recall that our first attempt was with a private company, and it is only after that private company could not raise the money that we went back to the CDB and recommenced in earnest a conversation with them. We would have been further along because the CDB has a meeting of the board, I think 4 times a year, and we were trying to meet the March meeting this year, but they needed a letter from the federal government, from the Prime Minister, which basically was a letter to say that the project had no objection from the federal government and that they could engage with the NIA, and that letter was not forthcoming. It is only since Dr. Drew has been in office that he has sent that letter, and so the CDB now has the green light to proceed. That is why they sent a 7-man team who has been here over the past few days doing the due diligence.
Yeah, because I was in a discussion, and I seem to remember, I seem to have something in my mind that's telling me that this was going on with the Caribbean Development Bank being mentioned from back in the days of Douglas, and that the support was not coming, the guarantee wasn't coming. You know, I mean, it's the same thing, or guarantee for something, for a different facility?
No, there's no guarantee involved here. The CDB has funds available from various institutions like IDB and others for green energy development.
Okay.
You know, there's a huge push globally for climate, in relation to climate action, to combat climate change, and this is part of that push. So these projects, like geothermal, are ready-made. They are the types of projects that these funds are earmarked for. And that is why the CDB has offered something called a CRG, Contingent Recoverable Grant. The money will be given by way of a grant for the drilling of the production wells. If the drilling is successful, then the money is converted to a long-term low-interest loan. If it is unsuccessful, then there is no repayment. It remains a grant. So that takes the risk out of the process. Right.
But you know, it's like I was in a conversation on Saturday where the leader of the NRP was claiming that she was the one that she's been peddling this, you know, from so long, you know, and
the leader of the opposition found her voice caller. Let us be very clear that nobody
to claim credit.
Caller. I think I recognize this voice, and I know you live in Nevis. The leader of the opposition has lived in Nevis for over 20 years, and I have never heard her have an opinion on anything until she became leader of NRP. I think, what is it, 2 years ago? 3 years ago, I think. Right? So, I believe that it would be foolish if she were to seek to claim anything in relation to this particular project. She does not think about this project. Caller, your phone is acting up for some reason.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, well, that was the extent of that conversation. I kind of just backed out because, that's kind of. Anyway, let's just leave it there.
All right. Anything further?
No, let's just leave it there. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On the Mark. We're taking your calls. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're On the Mark. Hello? Okay, we've lost that caller. We have somebody else holding.
Good evening, Mr. Bradley.
Good evening to you.
Yes, I have something I thought of mine. It is quite nice of Dr. Drew to invite both the CCB and the NRP. I have been listening and looking at the list of advisors to the Prime Minister, knowing their position in the St-Kitts-Nevis relationship. And this is how I see it. It is a political strategic move to neutralize the opposition, the political parties in Nevis. This is how I see it. It may be, and I know you're not naive. Because the Bible says wisdom is a principal thing. So that is what I have to say. Nice of you to go along, but just understand what you're getting into. Does it make any sense, what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not quite unsure what you're saying, so I'm asking you to clarify for me. I mean,
let me clarify.
Yes.
We know before the election, the position between the Labour Party and the Nevis, the CCM in particular. On the radio shows, people close had their say in relation that there can be no relationship between the CCM and the Labour Party. Even though people were saying, look, since you all have 3 and they have 6, it'd be nice if you all get a seat.
But who was making those assertions that there could be no? Well, you see, this is the problem, caller, and not that I'm interrupting you, but you see, I'm not at all certain that radio stations and the call-in programs necessarily reflect public opinion. We have a few people who are the ones who do 90% of the calling and the talking. Right?
And they, excuse me, you know, they formed part of the communication team for the party.
Well,
I heard Dr. Douglas congratulated 2 of them in particular.
Well, that may be the case. I'm simply saying that as far...
out of their head.
Okay, so if you can give me a moment. I understand what you're saying.
All I'm saying to you, do not be naive.
Okay.
As you said, you represent Nevis, so whatever you do must be in the best interest of Nevis, and don't allow yourself to be played.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Caller, I really like when you call, but it would be good if you allow us to have a conversation. You don't seem to like to listen to what people have to say. I don't mean that by way of insult, but I would like to engage you, but it's hard because you just keep talking, even when I'm trying to respond to you and to engage you. I think the engagement could be useful. The point I was seeking to make is that a lot of these talk shows, you listen to them, they have the same people calling. They call talk show after talk show. They let their opinions be known, and that is to be encouraged. But I think it's a dangerous thing sometimes to conclude that those who engage in punditry are necessarily suggesting that this is the public opinion. We all are in this space. We are in a conversation. But I wouldn't be presumptuous to say that points that are spoken to by some callers necessarily reflect public opinion. People call in and they express their view. Now, we were very clear in the last election that had the People's Action Movement obtained the number of seats, we would have coalesced with them. I was asked that question and I was very, very clear. There was no room for doubt. I said that PAM and CCM represented the remnants of Team Unity because the ideals had been abandoned by Timothy Harris and the PLP. They had gone their way. We were what was left. And so it was natural that we would coalesce because we still shared the ideals and the ambitions of unity. And that was the reason, simply put. And so that was the campaign. Since then, I've heard a lot of people who, in my opinion, for their own personal views, I've heard some on radio going on and saying all kinds of things. I heard some buffoon, for example, recently was on some program and saying that he's going to ensure that the CCM loses. And I had to ask somebody, well, who he be? Because I'm pretty sure nobody in Nevis knows this character, this creature. No idea who he is. But some of us are convinced that we are important, so we are puffed up with self-importance, and we feel that we can stay behind a microphone in whatever little garage or attic in New York or wherever we might be and influence the island of Nevis. Well, that tells me that they don't know Nevisians. So I'm here to say tonight, caller, that we have to make a distinction between an election and governance. And you know this. So during an election, we are trying to win the hearts and minds of people. We are trying to get their support. But after the election, we need now to roll up our sleeves and get down to work. The people have elected Dr. Drew and his government. He is the Prime Minister. And he will have to deal with the difficulties of modern governance. You know and I know that there are already a lot of chat out there about appointments and who get what and who get... That is the nature of things. That's how our people respond in some situations. He'll have to deal with all of that. But the CCM has not staked out any position which is anti-Labour. the CCM said what its preference was, and the people voted in a particular way. The CCM must now work for the benefit of the people of Nevis who elected us and put us in the parliament, so that they can have a voice in the national parliament, that they can help shape policy and legislation that govern their lives. So I want to be very, very clear that this notion of letting somebody fool me or pull wool over my eyes. Call, I entered the parliament in 2007. And how long ago that was? 15 years. In fact, in the current parliament, there are only 3 parliamentarians who have served longer than me. Dr. Douglas, Dr. Harris, and Sean Richards. And so I don't believe that I'm still in the category of people who can be easily fooled. I'm in the category of persons who understand that my time is near to leave the stage. And what I am seeking to do is to make my contribution before I leave. But I once told Dr. Douglas in a famous exchange in the parliament that he found himself in the checkout lounge of politics. Well, I am downstairs RLB, and they're calling my name upstairs because they want me to take my seat in that lounge, and I understand that. I'm not fighting that. I'm not and will not be like some who expect that you will take them out of office on the stretcher. No. I've always said that it is my role to make a contribution, and that's what I'm seeking to do. But I'm not naive. I believe I've seen it. I've fought the battles that I felt needed to be fought. And through the grace of God, I'm standing here still, committed, passionate about my people and about my country. And that's the best that we can do, Koala. So I think notions of being fooled and all of that, I would put that in the out of order bundle and think that we ought to focus instead on the good that we can do, the elections being over, for the benefit of the country. 20 minutes to. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello, good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
I would like to say congratulations to the red team for winning the barbecue competition there in Florida on Saturday night at Parker's Place. And especially for Devon Stanley for winning that big trophy for Church Ground. And Devon, Papa, and Carl for next year, they will be there. They're not missing it. Well, congratulations again to the red team.
To the red team. All right. Well, anything Church Ground, you know Church Ground going to do well.
Yeah.
All right. So Papa and Carl were there again?
No, they didn't get to go this year. But next year, they said they will be there. They won't miss it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much. And I hope you're doing well.
All the best. Ignore the noise.
Thank you.
Ignore the noise. To see him all the way.
All right, my dear. Good to hear your voice. Good to hear you. God bless. All right. And congrats to the red team, you said, who won. Devon and the team. Paka is always doing some great things. So, Paka, if you're listening, good night. I know sometimes you're on the highway listening to On the Mark. So, we wish you all the best. You only call in during Culturama. I don't know why, because we would like to hear from you as you're going down the freeway and, updating us as to what's happening. So, I hope you're doing well, Paka, and thanks for entertaining the guys. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're On the Mark.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Brantley, how are you?
I am well. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine because I was over under your umbrella today and it shaded me very nice. Oh my, when you come up there under the umbrella, you gotta get the sightseeing and the hot bath. Make me feel so nice. When you leave me with things and you're coming back home, like you're coming out of New York or so. Fort Lauderdale or one of them country, other place, nice. I went over. I see what you were speaking about, the park. They're going back past CDC, going back to just up there.
Pinnage, yeah. You saw the park?
Pinnage, it's lovely.
Thank you.
I went down by my cousin Hibby Sunshine.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to kill a bees, but I stand up strong still. I stand up strong. Yeah, 2 killer bees, man, Lady Susie Libert. Yeah, we enjoy ourselves. Oh, Lord, I just feel like I'm coming out the plane, you know. I ain't rubbing the team, but, you know. It was nice.
Well, I'm happy you enjoyed it, my dear. I'm happy you enjoyed it.
Oh, my.
Right. We'll be doing some more work there by the whole Sunshine's area, so by the time you come back, it'll be even more beautiful.
Yeah, I say unfinished building.
Yes.
It's not going to be like a hotel also.
Another restaurant. We're doing a lot of work down there.
A restaurant.
Yes. Okay.
So going on the road on your right.
Oh, yes. That's a development that we hope will be finished soon as well.
Man.
Yes. So we
I
there.
feel like I was in a different place. And I ain't going around the country tonight. I ain't reach further down in Jessup.
Right.
Imagine if I got to reach going down to Cotton Ground, how we going to be.
Right. So
I'm going to be looking down there, developing right now.
Everything is moving, and that is what we're trying to do.
Moving on.
So,
as Miko say, the country moving on.
Right. So you get the opportunity next time.
Island, one federation. Right. You have a good night. Eh?
All right. You do the same. God bless you.
Nice. Right. When I come back, saying, that's where I'm coming from, eh? I should have sleep over.
All right. Take good care. Yeah. Okay. God bless. All right. We have about 16 minutes left. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Just to remind you again, St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, will be at Victor's Hideout Friday. That is the day after tomorrow at 6 p.m. Come out and be a part of our meeting there. For the good folks from St. John's, we'll provide transportation from Red Hook and take you back as well. Then on Saturday, we're going to Tortola, and we will be at Maria's by the Sea, 6 o'clock. We're asking everybody from Virgin Gorda, Annie Gorda, Jos van Dijk, Tortola to come out and be a part of our meeting there. And then on Sunday, we will be in St. Croix. And St. Croix, I keep having to search for this name. Is it Blue something? Let me see again. I keep having to search for it. Blue Bamboo, formerly known as Drive-In. That's at 5 p.m. in St. Croix on Sunday. The CCM is going to be there. We look forward to your questions, your comments, and your contribution as we update you and, of course, get your ideas for Better Nevis. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. Okay, we've lost that caller. Caller, please call back. 869-469-1616 and 469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. We have about 16 minutes left, and so we have a bit of time. We can certainly take a few calls, and, of course, we invite you to be a part of what we are seeking to do here tonight. Register your concerns, register your opinion. Let's go back. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. I just want to ask you a question, Mr. Brantley.
Sure.
You know, noise is an unwanted sound, eh?
Yes.
But this is the question I want to ask you. What would you rather to listen to? Is your partner honest feelings or their accusation and what they did wrong? Give me your answer on that, please.
Do I want to listen to my partner's honest feeling?
Yes, or the accusation or what they did wrong?
Well, I would want to hear both.
Yeah, of course.
I would want to hear certainly their honest feelings, and I would also want to hear what they felt they did wrong.
Yes.
All of that would be important because you need to do a self-analysis in order to improve.
Yes.
And you need to look and see perhaps what mistakes were made in order to say, well, all right, we did this wrong or that wrong, so let us improve.
Yes.
So I would want to hear both.
Yes. Okay. This is Major Jones speaking, right?
Yes.
Your name? You met him before?
Maisie Jones?
Major Jones.
Major Jones. I'm not sure. The name sounds
familiar. He was with the Governor General, Sir Cuthbert Sebastian.
Ah, okay.
Mr. Ting was my good friend. Mr. The one that passed.
Mr. Amri.
Yes, he was a great friend.
I remember that.
I remember. I missed him badly.
Yes.
That's how the shit said that, you know. Anyhow, thank you. Because I prefer you listening to two things, right?
Yes.
The accusation, and what they done wrong.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good, and thank you very much. And I remember you quite well now that you said, and the service you rendered. I always used to admire how you went about your duty. So
yes.
thank you for calling. I do appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, take care, Major. All right, we have about 12 minutes left. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. Now, just to indicate that we are clearly in a political season now, we expect that we are going to be hearing much more from the political parties. I am certainly looking forward to engaging with the public in the byways and the highways, on radio and television, whatever opportunity we get, and to make the case to the public about the leadership that the CCM has provided. I think the CCM is going to run in this next election on its record. And I do believe it's a record that we can be proud of. I believe it's a record that the people of Nevis have seen and would have voted on just on the 5th of August. It is our hope and our fervent desire that the people of Nevis continue to stick and stay with the Concerned Citizens movement. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Caller, we've lost you. Please call back. Let's try this caller. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Dr. Brantley.
Good evening.
Good night.
Good evening, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes. I'm just checking in and letting you know it's a good show and only the best will do. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I do appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you who call and who are part of the show, and many who don't call but they listen and are part of the audience every single week. You are the ones who make this show what it is. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hi, good night, Mr. Brantley.
Good night.
I've seen the local news for a while.
Yes.
Just wondering what's going on with that.
Okay. Thank you very much, caller. I'm told that they have some issues at the building and that the area where they produce the news, that they have some concerns about mold. That is what I was advised. I believe that they're trying to fix those problems. The Honorable Eric Evelyn, who's charged with that ministry, he is well aware, and it is my hope that we can be back on air in full very shortly. I will, however, do some investigation with a view to coming back and reporting in a more fulsome way. But certainly that is what I have been told, that there was a concern about the space that they would normally use to produce the news, and that is why we have not had a news package in some time. So where that is now, I'll have to find out in the hope that we can get that back as quickly as possible. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, good night, Honorable Brantley.
Good night to you.
Yes, calling from BVI. I heard you advertising that you will be down here.
Yes, Saturday.
On the weekend.
Saturday.
Okay. I want to ask you this question about basketball, because out of all the sports, I hear nothing mentioned about basketball at all. Is the young guys them interested in basketball? Do they play basketball in Nevis?
Yes, there's quite a bit of basketball being played around the island. In fact, as a government, we have invested in and upgraded now nearly all the basketball courts around the island of Nevis. So we've just done the new courts at the Grell Hull, Stevens Hull netball complex. We have done resurfacing of courts in Bath. We've done new courts in Ramsbury. We've done resurfaced the court in Church Ground, and most of the youngsters do have basketball. They do go out and play. We have not had as much organized leagues as we would like, but the Department of Sports does do some. And my dear friend there, Wanda Perry from Church Ground, she normally organizes a league as well, the Malcolm Gishard League, that we would play in Church Ground each year. So everything had sort of stopped due to COVID, but I think we're restarting again. But the short answer is yes, basketball is being played on the island.
You all ever think about doing it don't have to be a indoor court where I think you can draw teams coming from away, even to think it to play over. They'll be the first to have a indoor court in Nevis.
Well, we have not thought about it because, frankly put, the other sports that are played on the island were more pressing because they have a larger following. So cricket, for example, we have been trying to put plans together to see what we can do about ETW Park. Athletics, we would have invested in the Mondo facility, Mondo track. And frankly, even car racing would have seen some investments in terms of the raceway at St. James. Basketball, really, we have limited our input to ensuring that the courts, which are all outdoor courts, are in good shape and good quality. But the idea of an indoor court, we have never really had that discussion.
Well, I think indoor court, it don't have to be. I don't know if you ever see a WhatsApp that I think I sent to you. We have an indoor court in Brantley. Nice indoor court for island like Navy.
Well, could you do me a favor and send that back to me, because I don't recall seeing it.
Okay, it's really good that it was built in Brantley. Cheap. I could say cheap because it's good for the village, but I think it will attract the league in St. Kitts to come across and play also from playing outside and the rain them game winning out the game. But Ngara have a nice league going on every Friday and Saturday.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, as I said, it's an idea to be looked at. You will understand that, with limited resources, we have to pick and choose sort of what we try to do. As I said, that was really never discussed in terms of an indoor facility. We have just spent quite a bit of money restoring the Stevens Hull complex there in Charlestown, just outside the Charlestown Secondary School. It's now in beautiful shape. We've also redone the tennis courts. But the idea of an indoor basketball facility, we have not got to that point yet.
Because St. Kitts, we play a lot of basketball. I'm surprised that they jump on an indoor court for the years that they had Leeward Island tournament, championship and thing like that. They should have been the one who should have done have an indoor basketball court in St. Kitts.
Okay.
But I will see you on Saturday when you come down in Tatola.
And bring your friends and family. We want a big crowd.
Yes. All right.
All right. Okay, brother. Go and send me that WhatsApp, please.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We have 6 minutes left. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616. 869-469-1700. So, if you can, please call in and let us have your thoughts and views on any of the issues that have been raised this evening and that have been discussed. In the final few minutes then, let me just remind the public that we will be starting the balance of the Island Main Road very shortly. There will be some disruption to traffic on the northern side of the island. We are asking for the patience of the people there. And of course, we've had many complaints. I like to say, as a government, we listen. And we try our best, given what is available to us in terms of resources, to respond. People, for example, were concerned about the fuel surcharge. That was really creating some hardship for our people in terms of electricity charges. I'm pleased that so many have taken a moment to call or text and say that they've seen a dramatic reduction in their bill. Of course, that comes at a cost because the government has had to find a subsidy for that. But we are grateful that some relief has come to householders, and we are hopeful that our people continue to recognize that as a government, we are trying our very best to listen to their concerns and to meet their concerns, and so we will continue to do so. We have somebody on the line. Let's go back to the phones then. No? Okay. I'm sorry we lost that caller. Call us to call again, 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you wish to be a part of the show. Let's take this call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, and I see you brought up to me. How are you, night, guys?
Good evening. The night is going well, thank you.
and blessed night, dear listeners, by radio and internet. I just like to take back on the Saturday performance there with the Indian Castle Archer farm there that was indicated to well received, highlighting of the goodness what the farm can produce and what Davis can be indicating as a way forward in organic farming. And I would like to applaud the working faction over there led by Brother Brantley and the others who are in part in doing the work to maintain this structure of the eyes of the Navy shores and making sure that the people there of Navy see what can they appreciate in farming, you see, especially when it comes to food security, and that is one of the major obstacles that we are facing in the region as a combination to why we are seeing the impact of all foreign food coming still on our shelf. So I hope with the initiative, and I will let it to your table because you are the premier of the Nevis oil, that we need to see that farm, as you just outlined earlier, that you have another additional 30 acres of land applied to do some more movements in farming over there too, right?
Yes, that is the plan at this point.
Well, I applaud that move, and I hope that you all generally put higher emphasis behind that movement because there is great reward in the long run, not in the short run, in the long run. So the future generation don't have to go out and be looking at any foreign food. They see their own local products right in front of their eyes that can be cherishing on the table and even in the little, as they call it, goodies, as they call them, when you break them down into, as they say, processing food marketing. So we had some good people there inventing, and I'm glad to see how they were able to.
You were in Nevis, you went to the event?
Yeah, man, what do you think I could talk about that? I said, well, still I gave a message to give me, and she give you.
No, she didn't give it to me. So I got to ask her. When I go.
You should have been there because you as the premier should have been there to enhance what was in take with that movement out there. I know you all love visiting, but the climax that was there that day was very joyful. I had a nice time. I relaxed myself. I get some things early morning, leave, so I meet in Nevis, means to 7 and went out to Indian Castle from since I reached over there. I've been helping out in the little areas I could, and I was very relaxing afterwards because I did good things.
So your opinion on the project
is very vital.
Okay, all right, good.
And I hope that you all continue that project in other avenues of communities around Nevis, and even introduce it in the shores of Singis so we can see greater value of our food products on our table.
All right.
And I would like to see a botanical garden share between both Singis and Nevis so we can able to save ourselves from those lot of economical crises that we're facing. We're bringing in paper, plastic, and all the other things that we can never make from the natural plants themselves and the natural wood that come out of the forest that we got around here. So let us start the innovation and creating things that can help the younger generation.
All right,
thanks.
That's it.
Blessed night.
The banner struck up, it means we have to go. That was our last call. That is our show for this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the few persons that called this evening and were part of the show. I'm very grateful for that. And of course, I encourage more people to call. The show is always better when people use the opportunity to call in and to have their opinions heard. Thank you very much for those who called. Thank you for being a part of the show. This show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Von Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. If you're out, get home safely. If you're already home, have a blessed night. Good night, and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.